Alright guys, part two. My second favorite combination has to be what I call the voodoo combo. At the heart of that engine combination, I used a Lunati voodoo cam. So sometime back in 2008, I went to a swap meet and I picked up a 350, no, it was 2009. I was with my ex. It was 2009. I picked up a 350 with, it was her. It was an orphan. And it kind of became our theme to pick up engines and know what was good. So I picked up a 350 with flat tops. And at the time, piston availability was still kind of scarce. You were either buying really expensive pistons or you were using the flat tops from Speed Pro. So this engine had good pistons in it. And the rods, it needed 2 rods, it needed a crank, but the block was good. So it saved us money on boring and honing. We just dingle ball honed it and everything was good. But all the other things were sent to the machine shop. It did see a machine shop. So I put that engine together with Lunati's second biggest voodoo hydraulic flat tappet cam, which was like a 532, 541 or something like that lift, and 232, 236 duration or something like that. Really nice sounding cam. But again, stock crank, stock rods, Speed Pro pistons, double roller timing chain from Pro Gear. It had an RPM intake. I had adjustable valve train. I had Ford 1.6 stainless steel rocker arms from Pro Comp at the time, and they were actually really good. I wouldn't run them now. The quality has gone downhill, even after they changed the Speedmaster. But I ran that. It had hardened push rods. It had 9.96 to 1 compression ratio, so it was good on 93, and I ran it on 91 before, no problems. It had a RPM intake, a 750 Classic Series double pumper, kind of jetted box stock, no carburetor modifications, just set up right with the right pump cams. It had a turbo 350 with a 2800 stall and a 390 gear, and that combination, the car went 12 twos at 109, just shy of 110. That combination did start off actually in the low 13s, but we refined that combination through a lot of suspension. And again, when I get a car together, I don't go in and start changing engine stuff. I start changing suspension, a lot of things like that that really affect the car. So that car started off in the low 13s, we did change carburetors, we played with timing, we did a lot of the tuning and stuff like that. And the car eventually did go 12 twos after the repaint. We did lighten up the car after the repaint. But before the repaint, the fastest the car went in all steel, it was all steel, it was 12.4. We added a little bit of fiberglass, the car went 12.2. Would be able to slide a piece of paper into the left front, and it was very happy. That was a great engine. It had great idle characteristics for being a big cam. It still had enough vacuum for power brakes. I drove it everywhere. I used to drive it to the track and back, and our round trip for either track is about 120 to 130 miles. And we would drive it, race it, drive it home, just load up my tools in the back, which is why I have the sliders in the seats, so I can stuff all my shit in the back. But yeah, we would drive this car to the track and back, and I think with that particular engine, with the Voodoo cam, is probably the most driving I did with the car. This is a hobby, and I'm not like old man cruiser status where I just drive around. I don't really like car shows. I don't really like cruise nights much. So we really got into the drag racing because there's action. You know what I mean? There's also a lot of sitting, but you go out there, you get to beat the crap out of your stuff, and that's where the fun is at for me. Is I build my stuff, I get to abuse it, I get to put it to the test, and one of the most gratifying things over the years has been able to prove to people that I can build my own stuff. And as I've gotten older, people have recognized a little bit of that, and they've opened up their doors, like my machinist, and a lot of opportunities have presented themselves where I'm now, I have a little bit more resources than I did in the past, and it's certainly made my way of operating a little bit easier. But those people have certainly not tried to change the way I do things. They like the fact that I'm taking secondhand stuff and making it work. So I hope for engine combinations, those two help somebody out. Again, it's hard to go into details about the engines, like clearances and stuff, because really it's out there, and you gotta kind of figure it out. The Oldsmobile information that's out there is either out here or down there. I put my clearances somewhere in the middle. A lot of guys like oil modifications. The engine that's in this car has 0 oil modifications besides a high volume oil pump with the stock spring in it and a 7-quart pad. And we spin it to 7,000 RPM. It doesn't make more than 55 pounds of oil pressure. That's 7,000 RPM going down the track. But guess what? You're only at 7,000 RPM for a short time. So I think that 10 pounds per RPM is bullshit, unless you're like in a circle track situation where you're going to be at RPM for such a long time. Yes, I think that's when it matters even more. But I think in drag racing, you're going to be seeing that you're going to be in the mid-range more than on the upper end of the RPM. So let's say like this car is probably between 4,000 and 7,000 RPM, but I'm at that 7,000 RPM. Like it happens fast. This car revs really fast. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I try to help people, but yes, my advice is really generic because they're the basic building blocks of what you kind of want to do. And I am not a professional engine builder. I'm not trying to come off that way. A lot of people have helped me and given me advice, and I have probably butchered it. But I also think part of what I do is that I take everybody's advice, and I take a little from here, I take a little from there, because something that I learned in the work trade doing collision repair is that my style of work is a melting pot of what I've picked up along the way over the last 20 years from so many great people that I watched work and idolized. And I quickly figured out who I wanted to learn from, but I also didn't stick to how they worked because they were good because how they worked. I had to try to be that good, take as much advice and tricks from them as I could, and make it my own. And I think that's even unique in the automotive world. I mean, you can't change physics, but you certainly can come up with your own ways to do certain things so that it works for you. And what I do in this garage is mainly what works for me, because I can tell you that a lot of guys wouldn't build engines for me if I gave them the stuff I gave them. And that's why I've been building my own stuff, because a lot of shops wouldn't touch it. A lot of my parts come in different boxes, not even the right brand. They don't even know the part number. I'm giving them notebook specs, and they wouldn't touch it. So, and not only that, I, for the longest time, really couldn't afford to do this, so I had to do it on a low budget and make do with what I had. And there was a lot of trial and error, and it did cost me. And a lot of guys over the years would tell me, like, it's gonna do it right once and forget about it, you know, just take my advice now and believe me later. And I'm not that person. I am a hands-on, like, I need to know why it's gonna work. I need to see why it's gonna work. I need to experience why it's gonna work. So whatever I share with you guys and tell you guys is what has worked for me, not anybody else. So take it with a grain of salt. I appreciate you guys following me. Share, like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it helps somebody out with their engine building. I try to be as complete as I can, but ultimately our car is fast because of all of the details. You know, we're not making a whole ton of power. We're efficiently using our power. And that's been something that I've always done. A lot of guys like big power to go fast, and, you know, they will get, you know, another 75 horsepower to go half a second faster or whatever. I will chip away at suspension work and tricks and this and that. And like even this car, the first time out with this car, with this engine, like 6 years ago, it was 12.0. And, you know, it's gone a bunch of 1140s now. So that's like 60 horsepower, but we haven't really changed anything to the engine. We're making more power because of the cylinder head work, but we killed bottom end, but we made up for it by changing the gear. And now our trap speed is about 116 versus 114. So we're making more power on that, and there's still a lot of untapped there. Limitations are RPM. So, and camshaft, I could definitely go with a bigger camshaft, but right now we're not changing anything. So, sure, like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Scott Colors. See you guys around.